It's a MacBook. It's a Chromebook. Well, actually, it's both. Hey everybody, it's Chris from FamilyGeekery, and today we're going to be exploring the options of creating a Chromebook out of a MacBook. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, we're going to explore those answers a little bit later in the video. But first of all, to answer the question, can you do it? Yes, you absolutely can. And all you need is a thumb drive. So let's go ahead and talk about what it takes to create a Chromebook out of a MacBook. So Google actually has a Chrome extension called Chromebook Recovery Utility. So to use this, you have to actually have Chrome installed on your laptop, and you can do this from Mac or you can do it from Windows. So what we're going to do here is, once we find this, and I'll put a link to this in the description below, we're going to add this extension to Chrome, and it's going to ask us if we want to add it to our Chrome extensions. And once we do that, we can find it up here in the little Chrome extension area. And if we want to go to Manage Extensions, make sure that it's turned on. So now that I see that it's turned on, all I have to do is go back here and find it, Chromebook Recovery Utility, and click on that, and it's going to launch a little window that allows you to create recovery media for your Chromebook. Now we're going to use this to actually create a Chome OS boot disk. So as it says, it requires at least an 8 GB USB flash drive or an SD card. We're just going to be using this little SanDisk here. So I'm going to plug it into my MacBook. And let's go ahead and click on Get Started. So the first thing it wants to know is what the model of our Chromebook is. Now this obviously isn't a Chromebook, so that doesn't matter. We're just going to select a model from the list here. And when we select the manufacturer, we're going to scroll straight down to Google Chrome OS Flex. And once we do that, we need to select a product, and it only gives us one option. So just use that Chrome OS Flex for both. And then we're going to click Continue. It's going to have us select our removable media. In this case, here's my SanDisk Ultra. And it wants to make sure that's the correct one, just in case you have multiple things plugged in. So always verify that you're plugging it in, because it is going to format it. It is going to delete everything. So once we know that we've got the right one, hit Continue. It's going to download this recovery image. It's going to verify it, and then it's going to install it. So let's go ahead and let it do that now. Alright, so it downloaded and verified the download. Now it wants to make sure that Chrome can make some changes to that removable disk. We're going to put in our password to allow it to do so. And now it's going to start writing that to the USB drive. Alright, so after it downloaded and verified and then wrote the image to disk, it verified it again. And now it said it's all ready. And now what we're going to do is we're going to shut down this MacBook Air, and we're going to reboot it using the boot disk that we just created. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at what our test subject is here. And this is probably one of the weakest MacBooks that I've got here in my collection. And this is a 2015 MacBook Air, 11-inch, only 1.6 gigahertz, dual-core i5, only 4 gigs of RAM. So this is going to be testing out what Chrome OS functions as on this lower-end MacBook Air, and then you can kind of judge that, how it works, compared up to what you might have. So let's go ahead and shut down this MacBook and get ready to reboot it into the Chrome OS. Alright, so with this new disk that we just created plugged into the MacBook, all we have to do is hit the power button and immediately hold down our Option key. And this is going to bring up our boot options. So you can see the internal hard drive in there, and then here's our external disk right here. Mine happens to be labeled EFI boot, and we're going to select that. Now as that's booting up, this would be a good time to go ahead and take a break and click that like button. If you made it this far, then hopefully you're enjoying the video so far. So do that for me. And without any further ado, here we go into Chrome OS Flex. So this is now booting from the USB drive. And it's not installed anything on here. It's going to give us an option if we want to just run this right from the disk, or if we want to install this onto our laptop. So we're going to go ahead and say get started. And here's that choice. Do I want to install Chrome OS Flex onto the device, or do we want to just try it first? So we're going to hit try it first, and I suggest that you do this too. Now after you try this out and see if you like it, you can always go back and boot back up and choose the other option to install it. So it's going to ask us who's using the Chromebook. I'm just going to click you for right now. Then it gives us an option to sign into our Google account. Now of course the Chrome OS relies heavily on that. For right now I'm just going to do browse as a guest. And it's going to allow us to go right into the Chrome OS without logging in and syncing data and making a bunch of choices about how we want to set up our Google account. And here we are, we're loaded up in Chrome OS. You can see the list of apps down at the bottom is not as many as if you had logged in. We'd basically just have files and Chrome instead of having the email and all that other stuff. So this is it, we're right here into a browser. Now as far as testing out Chrome OS, the best thing you can do is probably just go ahead and load it up and start doing some of the stuff that you normally do. Load up some web pages, you know, the ones that you usually go to, maybe your email and different websites that you go to. But I did find this browserbench.org, and they have this speedometer, which is a browser benchmark that measures the responsiveness of web applications. And this is, from what I understand, is one of the better ways to kind of test out or benchmark a Chrome device. So we're going to click this test, and basically it's going to do a whole bunch of tasks inside a browser. And no, it's not fancy, but it's going to go ahead and run through all those, and then it's going to come up with a score. And here we are, we've got a score of 77.9. Now I'm not sure what the best score would be in this particular test, but what I can tell you is I ran this on two other different devices, and I'll show you what they are real quick. One is this Lenovo, I think they call it a Flex, and it's part tablet, part Chromebook, and it's fairly new. It's maybe a year or two old, and it got like a 27 on there. And then the other one I ran it on is this 15-inch Acer, and this actually has a Intel Pentium processor on it, and this one's a couple years old, but it's one of the higher spec ones at the time, and it got about the same thing. It got in the high 20s also. Now I know that if you are familiar with Chromebooks, they range in value from $150, you know, brand new at Walmart, all the way up to over $1,000 for like an i7, you know, with 16 gigs of RAM and some crazy stuff that I don't understand why they put it in a Chromebook. But all I can tell you is that this score here is higher than those other two scores. I don't know what that means. Like I said, the best way to test it is just to go and do some of your normal tests and normal tasks in the browser and see how it runs. Now keep in mind also that this is still just running from this USB drive. I'm not sure if the overall operating system would run any more efficiently if it was running from the internal disk. I would think it would maybe do a little bit. I'm sure it's running most everything from RAM, but even then, this device only has 4 gigs of RAM, which may be more than some of those cheaper ones, you know, some of the cheaper ones that I listed before. But if you had a more modern type device with, you know, 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, you could probably use one of these boot disks and run this pretty successfully. Now, like I said, the reasons why we would want to do this, I said we would discuss those later. So let's talk about that. Reason number one of why we'd want to do this, quite honestly, is just simply because we can. You know, if you're a geek like me, and if you're watching this channel, you probably are, then sometimes you just ask yourself, hey, I wonder if this would work. And then you find out if it does. And in this case, yeah, can you turn a cheap MacBook Air into a Chromebook? Yes, you actually can. Now, another reason why you might is if you were loaning out a device to somebody, maybe a family member or a friend, and maybe they just need a device for schoolwork, or a device to do their taxes on, or a device to do some shopping on, and you don't want to have to teach them Windows, you don't want to have to teach them, Mac, then you can just load Chrome OS on here. And I've been recommending Chromebooks for family members for the last couple of years just for simple ease. If you can do it in the browser, you can do it on a Chromebook. So maybe you load this on here, give it to them, let them use it for a while, and there's really no way they can screw it up. If they screw it up, you just reinstall it again with the same disk. And in this case, since we just installed it temporarily, booting from a disk, when we're done having our fun, we just come on down here to our power options. We shut it down, pull the USB drive out, and then we can start it back up again and let it run our Mac OS again. And there we go, Mac OS is booting up again just like we never did anything. And that is going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you got something out of it, please hit that like button. It helps me out, it makes me happy. And if you like this type of stuff and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button too. So thanks as always for watching. Until next time, peace out and geek out.